Hello and welcome back to the KC Glassworks YouTube channel. Today I am going to be showing you how to score and break glass for leaded stained glass panels. So I'm going to show you exactly what your pattern needs to look like if you're going to be scoring and breaking glass right from the pattern and not using any sort of Cricut vinyl or pre-cut out pieces. So I'm going to show you exactly what that needs to look like for translucent glass and opal glass, not necessarily glass that you can see through, whenever you're just purely using a pattern. And then also I'm going to show you what you kind of need to check for if you're going to be putting a panel into a window or a transom, what your gap should look like all the way around your panel, and then also maybe what you should double check as far as measurements on your pattern itself. So let's just get started and I'll show you exactly where I'm starting so that you know what you need to look for whenever you're getting your pattern ready. Alright, so this is a pattern that I'm working on today. This is for a customer's home, and I drew the pattern on Procreate and then transferred it to Photoshop and did all the editing as far as the line width. And I made my line width a 1/16 of an inch. If you don't know how to do that, you can always go back to my Cricut pattern and see how to do that in that video. And then I transferred that pattern to Rapid Resizer, printed it out, cut it out, and taped it all up. Alright, so the lead that I'm using is a 3/16 H round lead, and that will be used on the entire panel. And then for my border, I am going to be using a 3/8 inch H zinc cane, and I just wanted that for some durability and strength. You also want to make sure that whenever you're making a panel for somebody's window or a transom, that you're going to have enough space all the way around your border for that person to be able to put some glazing or caulking to hold that panel in. So whenever I do something like this for like a pre-existing window, I put an 1/8 inch gap all the way around my pattern so that I know whenever the customer receives this window, it will definitely fit in their space and they will definitely be able to install it and then hold it in securely. So today what I plan on showing you is how to score and break all of your pieces for a leaded glass panel. And the point of doing that is to score and break them all on the inside of those black lines that you see. That's going to ensure that you're going to have plenty of space for all of the spacing as far as like the lead cane that you're going to need to build your panel. Because if you don't have those pieces on the inside of those lines, what's going to end up happening is your panel is going to start growing. And whenever you get to the very end of your panel, you're going to wonder why all of your dimensions are off, why your panel doesn't fit into your actual measurements. So that's why this is a pretty important part of the process, and that you take your time and really get those pieces to fit nicely into those black lines, and take your time really scoring and breaking those pieces properly. I have my streaks kind of going this way and my leaf is sort of going up like that, so that's exactly what I want it to do whenever I cut this piece of glass out. So I have some streaks kind of going like this, and what I'm going to do, you can just score and break right on the glass right here, but I am going to take a Sharpie and trace it first. So this piece is 53G. Well, I guess I don't have to put the G. I put the G for the color. So I just go ahead and trace. Also, if you don't want to do the whole draw your pattern digitally and do Photoshop and all that, the other way that you can do this is draw your pattern by hand and then go over all of your drawing lines with a Sharpie, just a normal Sharpie like this. And that'll give you basically the 1/16 inch gap that you're gonna need for all of your glass pieces. So what I'm doing here is just making sure that whenever I score and break this piece, that I'm not really going to have to go to the grinder. I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time at the grinder. I really just want to be able to score and break this, maybe touch up the edges a little bit, and that's about it. So the less time we spend at the grinder, the better, in my opinion. Okay, so we have that piece ready to be scored and broken, so let's do that. I like to use my waffle grid to score and break glass on, and then I use a pistol grip. Just dip it in some oil. Alright, and normally I like to get like really close to this, but since this is on camera, I'm going to try to stay as far away as possible so that you guys can actually see what I'm doing. So, let's see what we can do here without me getting in the way. Alright, so I'm just taking my cutter and I'm just going right on the inside of that black Sharpie line. Okay, so maybe we can see that a little bit with that reflection. You can see that I scored that all the way on the inside of that black Sharpie line. And then what I'm going to do is just take the back of my scoring tool and just give that a tap. Alright, so there we go. And as you can see, all that black Sharpie is still there. And then we don't have any black Sharpie on this piece. So that's what the whole goal is here. Because we really, really do not want to spend a whole lot of time at the grinder. Let me just get this whole piece done here. But we're just staying on the inside of that Sharpie. Okay, and then giving that a little tap. And as you can see, we're still good. So let's check our piece now on our pattern. So here we are, and there is our 53G. And then this piece just goes right like that. We are basically right in the middle of that. So I might have to do a little bit of grinding right there, but other than that, we are completely on the inside of our black lines. So then that piece is ready to be assembled without any grinding. So that's exactly what you want. Basically, we do that with every single piece. I will show you how I do it with opalescent glass. Alright everybody, so this is method 2 that I'm going to be showing you for how to make some pattern pieces for your opalescent glass or opal glass. So basically you can see I have a very opaque yellow that I'm going to be using, and at some point I'm going to set it down, and it is difficult to see. For some reason you can actually see it pretty good on the camera, but whenever I set it down and actually show you, you can see that if you were to trace it, you probably weren't going to be able to get a spot on pattern piece. And here we are at the light table, and you can very clearly see that the pattern is shining very nicely through that dark piece of glass, and it just makes it 1,000 times easier to trace it very accurately. If you do not have a light table, you can buy a tabletop LED panel on Amazon, and they come in various different sizes. So if that would be like something you'd be interested just to like get you started, they're like pretty high quality for the price. So that is always an option for you if you do not have a light table. Now I'm just doing the same exact thing that I did on the green glass, where I'm just tracing that pattern piece right onto the glass, making sure that I'm following it very accurately, so whenever I start scoring and breaking, it's going to fit pretty much perfectly into that piece so that we're spending the least amount of time possible at the grinder. Alright, so there's that piece. And we're just gonna score and break this out. Again, I'm sorry if my head gets in the way. I like being like really close, so. Which I might have to be for this one, so let me zoom you out. I'm gonna zoom out because I need to get up close and personal with this piece right here so that I can see what I'm doing. Still just staying on the inside of that Sharpie. And also another thing that I like to do whenever I'm scoring and breaking is I won't necessarily just do one score and break that off and then do another score. Most of the time I like to do all my scores at once and then break everything. It seems like I do have better results with that sometimes, so we're gonna try that with this. Might not work, but we'll see. Okay. And last one. Let's just take a little snap at this. You hear that? Alright, so now that I've started the break right here, I'm gonna finish it with tapping it. And I'm gonna do the same thing right here. Just start it. And there we go. And it just broke all by itself. But you can see that there is no Sharpie there right now. And my cuts are nice and straight. You want to make sure that you're using a quality tool whenever you're scoring. So anything Toyo is good. So for this one, I'm going to start the break with this. Just go nice and slow, squeezing slowly. And I don't know if you can hear that little break, but it did. There we go. And then last, you can see that we have a really weak point right here. Sometimes breaks tend to just take that tip right off. So that's where I'm going to start, and I'm going to start with this tool, doing the exact same thing, squeezing really slowly, and it was basically ready to fall off. So. And there we go. So let's take a second and check that we're still in our black lines. Okay, so here we are at number 45, and we're just going to take a second to make sure that we are inside our black lines. And we are pretty much there. We got a couple spots that we need to grind a little bit. So my camera's on a little bit of an angle, but whenever you're looking completely up and down, I can see that I gotta take off a little bit right here, and a little bit right here, and some right here. Okay, so not much. It's basically good, so that's how I want to spend my time at the grinder. Basically 0 time. Okay? The last method that I'm going to show you is cardstock. So let's say you're going to be using a piece of glass that you absolutely can't see through, even using the light table. You can use a piece of cardstock. So I'm basically doing the same thing that I did with the yellow glass, where I'm just going to trace my piece out onto the cardstock. Or you can use any paper. You can use some sort of transfer paper that's like really see-through. If you don't have a light table, you could probably just use regular printer paper too. I'm just using this because I like that's a little bit thicker, so it makes it a little bit easier to trace onto the glass. So I'm just going to cut this shape out, and I'll do the same thing where I cut it on the inside of that Sharpie mark. Alright, so I'm just taking some scissors and cutting this out on the inside of my Sharpie line. And if you have multiple pieces, obviously you could just use the same piece of cardstock for all of your glass. Okay, so then once you have that cut out, then you can just take a piece of glass and lay it right on top, trace that, and then do exactly what we did with the last piece and just make sure that you're scoring and breaking on the inside of that Sharpie line. Okay, so that's pretty much all I want to show you in this video. Well, the next video should be me showing you how I will build this panel, so we'll see what I can do. So I hope this helps anybody out there, but thanks for tuning in. I hope that you'll choose to subscribe to this channel. You can also find me on Instagram. My Instagram tag is K_C_glassworks. And then also if you just want to check out my Etsy store, that's Kingdom Creative Glass on Etsy. So yeah. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you later.